I'm going to do all my things on the beach.
I know. Watching a Batman rerun on network television, eating smoked poutineery, as one does on a Saturday evening after a championship basketball game. To be fair, most of the men who would come shovel your driveway for free or find your car are probably not the best looking. But what way could we use Tinder in the OUA in a non-creepy way?
Especially the playoffs, I could trust my players to go out and score some goals.
There are 800 Johnnies in the United States, right? And that's where the number squeeze starts to happen. Welcome inside OUA Today, everyone. I'm your host, Marshall Ferguson, inside our studios here at CFMU 93.3. It's going to be a busy one, I promise you. Welcome to OUA Today. Marshall Ferguson, Amanda Weldon. OUA Today is brought to you by the home of the original Buffalo Wing and Hump Day Wednesday Anchor Bar, located in downtown Hamilton at Jackson Square. You ever been to Anchor Bar, Amanda?
Anchor Bar, but I've heard good things. All good things.
All good things? Yeah, that's good. That's good. I feel like we should just go down there and be like, hey, we're the people who read your ad.
Should we talk in our radio voice? Hello.
3 times a morning.
Can I have honey garlic, please?
Do you think the people that work at Anchor Bar listen to a morning show? Because the bar industry is kind of an evening thing. They might be up late.
My boyfriend had worked at a bar before, and it's tough because, especially when it's a restaurant. Yeah. Because you can open at 9, literally, or 11, and then you close at like 3. So he said if he had both of them, it was called the Clopin.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta anchor it up the Clopin tonight.
No more doubles, just Clopins. Clopins, Clopins. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It was a very busy weekend, not necessarily so much around the OUA, but OUA teams playing
involving the OUA
in the CIS championships, winning 3 of the 4 championships that were available on Sportsnet Super Championship weekend. So that was pretty cool to see. How you can listen, we've already tweeted out the links. I don't know if TuneIn's working, so I tweeted another link. You'll find it. It's all good. We're hoping to be on iTunes sooner than later. That would be great, because then you could just walk to and from your class. You could listen to it in your car. Maybe you could catch up on all of your OUA news throughout the entire month. If you like to listen to things 4 hours at once.
We'll be everywhere.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll try and get on iTunes for you. How to reach out at OUA Today, at Marsh2Fergs, at Weldon Amanda. Coming up over the next hour, we will converse about Ravens men's basketball, Lancer women's basketball, hockey out east, hockey out west, CIS Super Championship weekend, the luck of the Irish, Windsor Track and Field, the mayor of Ottawa, CFL E-Camp invitees, and why is Guinness a thing that people still continue to drink?
I love Guinness.
Do you like Guinness?
Yeah, so we'll have a good debate on that. So stick around to the end.
Okay, good. Excellent. I think, personally, it tastes like Febreze and cardboard. If you were to take, if you were to take cardboard and just spray it down in oil.
I'm very lucky though, because I had my first, we'll talk about this.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to it.
I want to save my cool fact.
Last time we spent way too much time on the starting 5, so I decided to mix it up today. We're going to fly through it. What's going to happen is we're going to begin still with the starting 5. First, we're going to cover CIS men's and women's track and field. Amanda, you can take either the men or the women. Your choice. It's up to you.
I'm going to take the women, or the men, because some cool stuff happened.
Yes, very cool stuff. Cool stuff on both sides, to be fair, but I think that that's a good idea if you would like to take the women. So who do we have up first, I believe?
Ladies first.
Yeah,
you
ladies
go first.
That is me. That is all me. Decided to change up the beat as well. Not feeling Drake trophies. I heard it about 40 times at the CIS Men's Basketball Championships. Completely ruined it for me. So I've decided to go with a little Daft Punk this morning. So we'll funk up your morning. Alright, the CIS Women's Track and Field Championships. Toronto dominating. 131 points, 4th banner in program history. The closest was Trinity Western at 79 points. So similar to Carleton in the men's basketball championship, they nearly doubled up their closest opponent, even though it's obviously a different system. Sasha Golish earned Female Outstanding Athlete of the Meet, 2 individual titles, 2 silver medals, and as a member of Toronto's 4x8 team, setting a new Canadian record. The Blues ended the meet with 15 medals, including 5 gold medal finishes. As I mentioned, Trinity Western came in second. The OUA actually swept the top 5 of the CIS Track and Field Championships on the ladies' side. York came third, Guelph 4th, and Western 5th. Here are your individual winners I can fly through for you. Caroline Earhart, Western, 13.16 meters, CIS record in the women's triple jump. 1500 meter, Fiona Benson, Trinity Western, 4 minutes 18 seconds. Shot put, Brittany Crew, who is also the OUA Field Athlete of the Year, 15.88 meters in the shot put. I don't even think I could throw an Eggo 15.88 meters.
Okay, go.
She threw a shot put.
Marshall, have you had breakfast this morning?
Yeah, no, I haven't had anything. That's okay. But seriously,
Yeah. No, I watched her do it as well, and just the technique, like you can tell at the point of release is just so key. Yeah. She's just such a strong girl.
That's awesome. Pole vault. Robin Bone, Western, 4.24 meters. That's a CIS record. Also the sister of Mustangs quarterback Stevenson Bone, who is a delightful human being. Stevenson. I don't know him super well, but we did enjoy a pint one time, speaking about Guinnesses, on a spring evening a couple of years ago at, whatever the local bar is in London. Seeps?
Jack's?
Seeps? Yeah.
I don't
know. Anyways, I was there and we were actually watching, an Arena Bowl football game together. So nice good guy, and his sister is super good at pole vault. So, 1,000 meter women's Sasha Golish, as I mentioned, 2 minutes 45 seconds. 60 meter hurdles, Haley Warren, Toronto, 8.26 meters. 3,000 meter Sasha Golish again, 9 minutes 14 seconds. 300 meter Shireen Harris from York, 4x8. The women of Toronto set a CIS record in a time of 8:32, and that was Rachel Jewett, Honor Walmsley, Sasha Golish, and Gabriella Stafford. And that's pretty much it for your CIS women's track. So flew through those, but man, that was some big accomplishments there. A bunch of CIS records. And those are just, I should mention out as well.
Yeah.
These are only the people in the OUA who went on to win CIS gold. There's tons of other people that either, set some records or were silver, were bronze and all of that. But as we all know, once you get out of the OUA and you get to the CIS level,
you ain't first, you're last.
Crazy.
If you ain't first, you're last. Well, it's not true, Ricky Bobby. You could be second, you could be third. Hell, you could be fifth. It doesn't even matter.
An interesting point about Sasha Golish is she actually wasn't set to run that 4x8.
Really?
And the night before, they had made that decision.
Wow.
So I'm like, who got kicked out? But she should have been the number one on there anyways.
That reminds me of Jessie Lumsden at Sochi, when the bobsled team just wasn't happy with the performance in the time trials and setting themselves up for the actual,
make a little switcheroo there.
Yeah, and they decided to pull them off of, I think, Canada 1, and they went on Canada 2, and then Canada 2 is when they unfortunately crashed the next day at Sochi. But looking forward. All right, let's do CIS men's track and field.
All right, CIS men's track and field. Windsor took it 101. It was a little bit closer than the women's. Guelph coming second with 92 points. Then we have York there, 73. And then dropping down to 6th place, we have Toronto with 42 points. So again, really big presence by the OUA in the CIS final for track and field. Windsor Lancers tweet. Did you want to take this, Marsh?
Yeah, the Windsor Lancers tweet, they said, our house, and then they dropped a boom. Boom shakalaka! So I'd like to play the boom shakalaka. Also, the NBA Jam guy, that is the voice of boom shakalaka! Messaged me on Facebook the other day.
No.
We're probably gonna have him on sometime in the next couple of weeks. He's the voice of a bunch of different video games, and I'm a video game nerd from when I was little. Not so much anymore, because I'm too busy doing this. But that would be really cool to have him on. Anyways, Boom Shakalaka guy. I wanted to get that in because, as I said, Windsor dominating 20th track and field national title.
So cool.
Yeah.
So then we have pole vault. David McKay, York, 5.2 meters. That's pretty intense. That's high. Yeah. 4x2 York with 1 by 12. What is that? 1 minute, 27 seconds.
1 minute, 27 seconds. Yep.
So quick. Bismarck, Boteg, Ao Augusto, Jameel Brown, and Xavier Jehovah on that team. The 1500
Jehovah's
meter.
Witness. Jason.
We were witness
all
to greatness.
to Xavier Jehovah.
Ugh. And 1500 meter Ross Proudfoot. Come on, I gotta give Ross Proudfoot his own time.
Sorry, go ahead. Coming down 3 to
1500 meter Guelph. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. That is insane. The 4x4 Windsor, number 1, winning CIS track and field with 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Jesse Drennan, Chris Kramer, Corey Belmore, and Alex Ullman. Long jump. Jeez, I'm just having tough. I should have done my red leather, yellow leather this morning.
Me last Monday.
Yeah.
That was a bad show last Monday, not gonna lie.
Aaron Young, Windsor, 7.37 meters. Long jump. Yikes. I would go to class that way. I would just jump.
7.3 meters.
Let's just conceptualize that.
Yeah,
That's as long as a truck.
All right, 60 meter hurdles.
60 meter hurdles. Greg McNeil, Toronto. 7.85, and then we have 3,000 meter Ross Proudfoot again.
Rossi.
Guelph, 7 minutes and 59 seconds. Doing that in the same weekend. That is just intense. High jump. Sean Kate, Guelph, 2.13 meters. High jump. And then the weight throw, we've got Jared Skeeth from Guelph, 19.44. And then 300 meter, A.O. Augusto again from York.
Yep.
34 meters there. 4x8, Windsor, 7 minutes, 31 seconds. Paul de Lamara, Taylor MacArthur, Corey Belmore, and Alex Ullman again.
Yeah, a lot of the guys from that 4x4 team that Windsor won with as well. And then finishing it off, pentathlon, James Turner of Toronto, 4,000 points.
This is why I wanted to talk about
that. Yeah, won him the pentathlon.
This guy won first in 1,000 meter, second in long jump, shot put, high jump, and third in 60 meter hurdles.
Could you make an argument that pentathletes and pentathlete champions, because I know from watching this at the Olympics, might be the best athletes up there as one of the best athletes in, I don't want to say the world because that's a little blowing it out of proportion, but like it's hard to think of somebody who...
Yeah.
And it's interesting too because everyone has their strengths and weaknesses in the pentathlon.
But it's like overall athlete. But then you think of like...
So people will take like...
Jenner.
Yeah.
Who is... What was that? The decathlon. That's like 10 events.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
Very, very cool. CIS track and field, Dennis Farrell, National Coach of the Year, 20th CIS National Championship title as well, as we said. Windsor sent out a tweet with that of him winning. Also said hashtag big dog, hashtag legend, hashtag dog father.
He was so
Where does
sweet.
the dog thing come from? They're the Lancers. I'd love to know if anybody from Windsor can tell us where the big dog thing comes from with the track coach. That would be fantastic. For your full list of champions, go to cis-sic.ca. As I said, we didn't want to bore you with everything, but we wanted to mention all the champions from the OUA, and there were a whole bunch of them. So we thought we'd get those in. CIS women's hockey as well was happening. I believe it was out in Calgary. A 3-goal second period and 38 saves from Kelly Campbell lead the Western Mustangs to their first ever CIS Women's Hockey Championship title with a 5-0 victory over McGill. People were on Twitter yesterday as I was at the basketball championships in Toronto saying like, oh my god, there's like 10 minutes left and they're up 4-0. Oh my goodness, there's 4 minutes left. They're still at 4. Like people were just like, couldn't believe that we're Western grads that were on Twitter. We're just like, what is, like, something else has to happen, right? There has to be a pushback. There has to be, nope, they just dominated.
They just literally won. Yep. Yeah, their goalie's very sweet. She had like all positive things to say, obviously. Yeah. Super proud of her team and yeah, Kelly Campbell.
Any relation to Cassie Campbell?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. The win makes Westerns, as I said, only the third OUA team to hoist the Golden Path Trophy. It's an interesting name for it. And the first in 10 years since Laurier accomplished the feat in 2005. Campbell stole the show, as we just talked about, the goaltender. For her second consecutive game, she recorded her second consecutive shutout, earning tournament MVP honors after only allowing 1 goal on 94 shots in 3 games.
Wow.
Western's offense came from 5 different scorers as well in the championship game. Anthea Lassis, Ali Galloway, Stacey Scott, Kendra Broad, and Casey Rosen, each recording a goal. A couple of media alumni getting in on the action. Donovan Bennett, who we had in studio to discuss uniform decisions not long ago, said it's a good day to be a Western Mustangs grad. Congrats on winning CIS Gold in women's hockey for the first time in Western history. And Caroline Cameron, who's dropping all of your Sportsnet Super Championship weekend highlights right now. If you want to listen to us and maybe turn on the TV and watch all of the awesome CIS athletes, including OUA teams, that is going on Sportsnet Connected right now with James Sapolsky live from Vancouver. So that is kind of cool to see them getting involved. CIS men's hockey. Kyle Neuber was the hero as he scored the overtime clincher for the Guelph Griffins in a 3-2 win over the University du Québec et Trois-Rivières. UQTR, the Patriots, in the CIS University Cup bronze medal game Sunday afternoon at Scotiabank Center out in Halifax at 5:31 of the 10-minute extra session. The sophomore forward banged in a rebound under UQTR goaltender Guillaume Nadeau off a 3-on-2 rush by the Griffins. Guelph started their season, and if you didn't listen last week to our interview with Andrew D'Agostini, you don't know they started their season 3-13. And then they ended up getting a CIS bronze after winning an OUA championship. They also battled injuries to key players such as Mike Hassan and Nicholas Cecapelli. A strong finish included a 7-2 record in the OUA playoffs, culminating in a 4-0 win over that same UQTR team that they beat in the CIS bronze. Guelph head coach Sean Camp, and this is one of my favorite things from the week that I saw while I was running around Toronto, at the press conference on Wednesday, Media Day out in Halifax, said, thank you everyone for allowing us to be here at the CIS Championships despite our regular season record. That's great. Thanks for letting us in. And I saw a funny tweet yesterday as well that said, busy penalty box right now. It's a little full for the Griffins. Penalties of the second period. Ryan Strand took a roughing penalty at 14:06. Andres Kopstels took a Guelph penalty at hooking 14:16, only 10 seconds later, so now they're down 2. Goodness. Jordan Mock took a slashing penalty less than a minute later at 15:15, and Robert DeFulvis took a cross-checking penalty and a 10-minute misconduct at 15:59. So in the span of about a minute and a half, they had 4 2-minute minors and a 10-minute misconduct. So, just the bad boys. The Griffins.
Just playing rough from Guelph, Ontario.
Just doing everything they can to win. Goalie Andrew D'Agostini as well, that we talked to last weekend. It was a great interview. He was named CIS Tournament All-Star. You might be wondering this morning why we didn't list anybody that we're going to have an interview with. That's because, everyone's too busy for us. We tried. Last one for you in the starting five. CIS Curling's this weekend. It's at Laurier, which is going to be awesome because they doubled up the OUA championships not long ago. It is March 19th, 21st. Tickets on sale now. Round robin, $10. Championship Saturday, $15. Or if you're like my grandpa, who lives in Napanee, Ontario, and the Strathcona Paper Center when the Briar came there a couple of years ago, and you would like to just sit inside the rink and watch curling from the first draw until the end of the championship and just throw a cod up and maybe get a refill on Tim's or get someone to run Tim's for you, you can do that. A tournament pass is $30.
Isn't that more expensive than just buying each day? Yeah. Okay, you go, Gramps. Way to support curling.
Yeah, exactly. He posted up for a long time at the Briar because it's so cool though. Like Napanee, not a whole lot going on other than
Avril
Lavigne. I know her picture's still up in pizza shops everywhere.
They're proud.
Yeah, they're very proud. She also went to my dad's church. Pretty cool.
Fun fact for everyone out there.
She used to sing in the choir at my dad's church.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But again, Napanee, it's not like, hey, here's this miraculous. There's probably 4 churches, right? Like it's not. It's not like
how big is Napanee?
There's a 25% chance that's going to happen probably. But the OUA wins 3 of the 4 championships broadcasted on Sportsnet this weekend. All right.
Oh, got some Matthew McConaughey this morning.
I tried to look for a voice clip of that. There are none. Doesn't exist. But that's pretty fantastic for the OUA to get on national TV and win 3 of the 4. We'll discuss some of the individual championships, maybe basketball in a couple of minutes, but I thought that was really cool to see that they were able to have so much success over the weekend. Hope you enjoyed the starting 5. I think Daft Punk was a nice touch, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Marsh, you're on radio. No one's going to answer.
I was waiting for you to answer. I thought, jeez. I think Daft Punk is really good. Their album came out the week that I went to training camp with the Calgary Stampeders. So on the flight.
So you just hit hard Daft Punk the whole time.
Repeat. Because when I got there, I actually took a bus, to meet my girlfriend in Jasper. So I got off in Calgary, went straight to a Greyhound station, got a bus north to Edmonton, and then took it west over to Jasper. So for those 12 hours of transit that one day, it was Daft Punk and City and Color.
I picture you having a visor that comes down, like the Daft Punk helmet.
Just sitting on the bus, just chilling by myself. Thank you everyone for listening. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about the CIS Men's Basketball Championships and a little bit on the women as well, including the amount of money they were able to raise across all of CIS women's basketball through their breast cancer awareness campaign, which is pretty amazing stuff. So thanks for listening. This is OUA Today on CFMU 93.3.
After the final ball has flown and the final catch made and the last screaming fan has left the stadium, the ball is passed from one team member to the next so the players can sign their names. But of all the names, there is one on that ball that is perhaps the most important. That name is Wilson. Good luck this season.
I would rather be any place but here. Welcome back inside OUA Today, everyone. Marshall Ferguson alongside Amanda Weldon. Last week I got on my soapbox and campaigned for you and me to win all sorts of stuff at the Junos, which were actually in Hamilton last night. Nope.
Yeah, you're a huge Pink fan.
Yeah, Alicia Moore.
Yeah.
I like her. But I'm more of a Dallas Green guy. But Alicia Moore alongside Dallas Green, I thought it was fantastic. They didn't win a Juno, as far as I know. I went through the winners list on the website. Nothing. Big winners, though, that I did enjoy. Bahamas. If you haven't heard any Bahamas stuff, it's fantastic. I got to see him I actually wasn't aware of him until I saw him open at Massey Hall for Jack Johnson about a year and a half ago.
That's good.
So that was a really good show, and he's a great musician. So, also The Weeknd and something called Kiza.
Come on, you for sure.
I wear khakis. You think I'm gonna know what a Kiza is?
You're thinking like Kaiser. You're like, throw some corned beef on there.
I've seen her music video. She won Best Music Video, Best New Artist. I'm like...
She won Best New Artist because it's just so catchy.
Yeah, but why are we rewarding catchy instead of quality music?
That's true.
I hate modern music for that. Hey, it's the same beat that we've heard 5,000 times. Hey, but I can't stop listening to it. Man, does that sound catchy? Yeah, let's give it a
You go to bed and you're still hearing it.
Yeah, but like I don't know if that's award worthy. Anyways, tune into our music podcast coming never, because obviously we don't know anything about music. So the biggest winners this weekend, though, aside from the weekend actually winning stuff, Carleton Ravens men's basketball, Windsor Lancers women's basketball, Windsor Ryerson. Let's go through a little bit of the CIS tournament right now. Windsor and Ryerson played in the opening round of the CIS men's basketball. It was a complete battle. Ryerson pulled away in the third quarter, and Windsor was pretty disappointed by the fact that, it was based on, a lot of people said seeding. I don't agree with that. I think, Windsor was an underdog all year, and then the national media, who, to be fair, are fresh to this, and I don't know if a lot of people did their research on the OUA throughout the season. It's, because they just kind of get dropped in, and it's kind of unfair to them to get dropped in and go, hey, you need to write on this, right? And they show up in their first game as Windsor Ryerson, all OUA matchup. They hadn't played at the OUA Wilson Cup, so they're looking at previous results. Well, the reality is that Ryerson won by 20.
Yeah. I feel like at the end of the day, if you're in a championship tournament, you need to be able to come up against any opponent. I understand they're still in this OUA, and that sucks, but I mean, you're there to be golden. Yep. And to be golden, you have to beat everyone, so. And
also interesting, too, that people were joking at the tournament. They're like, do you think Ryerson might have thrown that game at the Wilson Cup in order to get the 7 seed in order to play Windsor because they thought they had a better matchup than they would against Ottawa? Because they ended up losing to Ottawa. I'm not saying that's a real thing. I'm not saying they threw it, but it's kind of funny to think about the fact that everyone's going, oh, the Wilson Cup, Ryerson's 0-2. That sucks. Now they're going to get the 7 seed, even though just because they're hosting, they're going to be really low seeded. And they're like, oh, we get Windsor? Fantastic. That's a good matchup for us as the number 2 seed. So, Scott Hasty, who
is again not here.
That's okay. He was with me all weekend and he was talking with me about it and just saying how favorable the matchups were. He thought for Ryerson against Windsor, but the national media, there were headlines in the National Post, the Globe and Mail.
Oh my goodness.
Ryerson upsets Windsor. I'm like, no, Ryerson won by 20 in the regular season. Look something up from the OUA. If you get dropped into a beat, open the Google machine, go to the OUA website, and look at the results through the year. I found that very frustrating. And we joked about it too. We're standing in the media room after that game, and we're doing a scrum, waiting for Coach Ray and I believe to come in. And Neat Sager from Yahoo Sports, who was with us all weekend as well and did a lot of really good work this weekend covering the championship tournament, said, oh, I just hope nobody says that this is an upset. And we're all kind of laugh. And then he goes, but seriously, everyone will. He's like, people aren't going to do the
because they only look at the who's ranked.
Yeah. Which again, I understand if you're getting dropped in from a national and you're maybe not sports, like the Canadian Press was there doing stuff, and do you think they cover OUA basketball week to week? We would love if they would, but they don't right now. So that was kind of the background on that. Carleton, Saskatchewan was a beatdown. It was 90-50 at the end of the game. Right from the opening tip, they were just so much better. Phil Scrubb had 31 points in 23 minutes, including 22 points in the first half alone.
And
he hit a 4-point play at the end of the first quarter and was flexing and screaming on the ground. It was Kids Day as well on Thursday in the morning because they tipped off at 11 a.m. So they had hundreds and hundreds, probably around 1,000 or a little bit more school kids. They were inside Mattamy Athletic Center, and they were just cheering for offense. They were like me at the 2010 Wilson
Scrubb,
Cup.
Some third graders.
Yeah, and they were just screaming the whole game, which was a really nice way of the organizers to cover up for the fact that they were morning games and no one was likely to be there on a weekday. So they showed up and it was noisy and it was good, and they had dance parties at timeouts and stuff, and the kids were all fired up, and there was also
DJ Jukebox was there.
Yeah, true. Our local DJ from Hamilton McMaster Athletics, but It was a beatdown. In Saskatchewan, I went down on Wednesday as well for Media Day, and I got to see all the teams do their shoot-arounds. Carleton's practices, and anybody who's seen a practice or been privileged enough to, will understand where I'm coming from with this. But for those of you that don't know, their practices look like they are in West Point at an Army training facility, whereas Saskatchewan, I watched their practice right before Carleton's. Very quiet, very kind of low-key, some system work, not a lot of intensity. And I watched those shoot-arounds, and I went, my God.
This is going to be
tomorrow's going to be
bloodbath.
Nasty. Yeah, and it was. But Saskatchewan fought back and actually finished 5th in the consolation round. They ended up beating Windsor in the consolation side of the tournament. But I talked to head coach Barry Rollick as well from University of Saskatchewan, and he said, why did we get the 11 a.m. tip? It might have been more pushed out because they wanted primetime games, like that Bishop's Ottawa game, which we'll get to in a second, was amazing. And obviously Ryerson needed to play the marquee 6 o'clock game on Thursday in order to make sure that they were kind of the center of the tournament because they're hosting and first time in Toronto and all of that. I think just based on process of deduction, Saskatchewan got pushed to the morning game, and the organizers might have thought, Carleton's probably going to blow them out. Why would we put this in our prime time where everybody's going to come out, right? But he was like, we flew in yesterday, and with the time change, this is basically a 9 a.m. game for us.
Yeah, that's so unfair.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you should fly out earlier.
Yeah, and UVic played right after, and they're another hour west, so it's the same thing for them.
And also with the time change that just happened.
And next year, the championships are out in Vancouver, I believe. So, you'll have an Ontario team who will get all messed up and they'll fly out there. Like everything balances out eventually. I'm just saying for this year, for those teams, not a great setup, unfortunately. Ottawa Bishops, the game that I talked about before, that was kind of unexpected. The Bishops won the RSEQ, and they were deemed as a good team. It wasn't like they were looked at like you guys don't belong here, because they did. However, Ottawa is a very powerful team, and everyone thought that Ottawa would just come out, run away with the thing, and make it look easy. They ended up shooting, Ottawa did, 1 of 14 from 3 in the first half. They averaged 30 attempted threes a game, Ottawa does. They like to shoot the 3-ball. 1 of 14 in the first half was pretty amazing to watch. Johnny Barrera-Mescal was just not himself, I think, most of the weekend, and kind of upset to see him end his career the way he did as well. Wanted to get that in because I have a lot of respect for what he's done. And Gabriel Gontier-Devue as well from Ottawa. He's a great player, and they both end their careers with kind of a nasty, stinging loss. So not the greatest setup there. But the Bishop fans that made the trip became the headline of that game. We were sitting there.
They got a little crazy.
Right about as the tip began, and we're like, yeah, it's probably going to be a dead gym. Ryerson and Windsor had just finished, and we're like, that was a great game. I expect Ottawa to just kind of blow this out. And sure enough, they start off the game really well. And then more and more purple starts filling up random sections around, not just like one big group, like they like strategically planned. It was like a World War II assault. They're like, we're going to take him for the left flank, and then we'll sit behind the Ottawa bench, and then you'll sit over there. And then they planned it. They were really, really well. And they got louder and louder, and they were more erratic, and they were like nastier to the Ottawa players, and they were amazing. And I'd heard things about Bishop's fans before, but they showed up in droves. And it might have been as well because they knew in order for their team to succeed at all, they needed to make the trip on the Thursday, whereas Ottawa people are going, we'll be there on Sunday in the championship game.
Oh, we don't, my right? Gosh,
because,
so true,
because if you're not going to come down and spend 3 days in Toronto, if you don't have the money for the hotel and all of that stuff, economics. So they decided that they were all going to come down on Thursday night, and their presence was felt. I actually have a quote from head coach James Drouin of the Ottawa men's basketball team about the Bishops fans and how he viewed them, because he was prepping for the game and he thought that it was going to be kind of a quiet.
Does that help prepare for playing Ryerson? You know what? When we were warming up, it was very quiet in there, and all the Ryerson fans had left, and I was like, wow, this is going to be a dead game. I was like, there was no energy in the building, and all of a sudden I look up and that Bishop section is that huge beer section on that one side, and then there's another one behind me. And I was like, wow, great support for them to come down here on the Thursday night. And, wow, we're in a neutral site, right? And they took over the whole gym. It was hostile. And, that's great. Our guys, that stuff is great. If anything could prepare us for tomorrow, it's probably going to be twice as harsh tomorrow. So, but, again, that's a great thing about basketball. The CIS, they came down here in buses to support their team, and it's hostile, but our guys love that, and so do I, and it's great to see that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember some of our girls going down to Laval to support men's volleyball.
Yeah,
and it's just such a good environment. You're just so excited for them, and being part of that crowd when they do well, you feel like you did well personally. Yeah. So
it ties in a little bit more.
Funny about the next game, though.
Yeah, it is very funny.
Predictable.
I got a couple of good shots on video. If you check out our Vine account, our Twitter and stuff, there was a couple of shots of Gator Bro is what Scott Hasty and I called him. He was in the stands, and we noticed him because he was wearing a purple hoodie, like a rip-off Raptors one that was the picture. It was the outline of James Johnson dunking against the Pistons from about a month and a half ago. And then he said, I cocked that joint back and banged on him, which was the quote that James Johnson, the Raptors, said when he dunked on the guy from the Pistons. So he was wearing that. So, and then his dress shirt underneath was like a size small, and he was like 6'3". and it constantly, every time there was a bad call, he would rip off his hoodie that was this purple rip-off James Johnson Raptors thing. And underneath he would have like this belly shirt of a dress shirt. It was all untucked, and like his jeans were halfway down his butt and stuff. Like, and he was just the most emotional, screaming, passionate fan ever. And the fun thing about him that we loved was he wasn't sitting in the stands and cheering and, you know, going nuts up there. He was rotating locations. Like once every 4 minutes, we'd be like, whoa, Gator Bro's over there. And you'd see him under the other hoop, or you'd see him behind the Ottawa bench, and then you'd see him on the TV camera right underneath the basket near the Bishops fans. Like the geography of how Bishops attacked this whole situation of playing Ottawa was amazing to me. And it was really fun to watch. So anyways, Mike Andrews had 17 points and 18 rebounds for Bishops in 38 minutes. They kept it very, very close. The game went to overtime. There was some controversial calls at the end. You can look those up on your own. About half of the rebounds from Mike Andrews came on his own misses, though. Like that.
Oh.
I've never seen a team so bad at finishing underneath the rim. They probably would have won that game if they would have just put in 75% of their, not layups. They were contested. They were tough inside, and the length of Ottawa inside with GGD was probably a bit of an issue, but, pretty interesting. They ended up, Ottawa did winning 91-85 in overtime. Arash Madani of Sportsnet said, a CIS official, very mysterious Arash, tells me the Gators GG's overtime thriller tonight was the most watched webcast of a single game in the history of CIS sport. So that's pretty awesome. It was a pretty amazing event. And Tariq, from North Pole Hoops as well, that was there watching the games with me, said it's the most exciting university game he's been to. And all I could think was, after yesterday's championship game, what if that game had been on Sportsnet?
Yeah.
But the thing about CIS athletics is it's so unpredictable, right? Do you put Carleton Saskatchewan on, and Saskatchewan somehow puts together a run and sends it to overtime against Carleton, the number one, the Giant? Well, you can't necessarily, because it might turn into 90-50 like it did. Well,
yeah.
Did anybody anticipate Ottawa Bishops turning into an overtime thriller? No, they thought Ottawa was going to beat up on Bishops just like Carleton did on Saskatchewan. So very unpredictable. I think that's unfortunately the nature of it right now. If we could find a way to make everyone this entertaining and this sporadic, it'd be great. That's the thing about the NCAA tournament, though. They cover every single game, and then they go, hey, there's something happening over here, and they flip the channel, and all of a sudden we're in the moment of that crazy March Madness setup, right? So it's very difficult to get that when you don't cover every single game. No crazy Bishops fans at the game the next day, though. Windsor 91, Bishops 80. They were all hungover. There was no purple in the stands whatsoever.
So sad. But I mean, maybe they went home too.
They were
could only afford the one day.
They were emotionally exhausted. But I think
Gator guy was emotionally exhausted
because Bishops played until about 11:30 at night, midnight, and then their tip-off was at 11 a.m. the next day, or 11:30.
That's unfair.
Yeah. So that's, again, a tough turnaround. It was the same thing with Windsor. They lost to Ryerson, and they had to play at 11 the next day. So, anyways, I'm dragging on here. I'm not rushing, I'm dragging. Windsor, Saskatchewan, sorry.
He didn't write
I just write
Sask.
Sorry, I was rushing. I wrote Sask, and I couldn't figure it out. Frustrating day and way to end the season for head coach Chris Oliver. They lost to Saskatchewan, University of Saskatchewan. Huskies 99-94. Real quick, Amanda, your thoughts on playing in a consolation final, because there was a lot of people around that building that were going, man, can Windsor not just like go home? Like they were here to win a championship if they could put a run together. The second you lose, like they have to play 2 more games, and the Windsor bench was not happy. Like, I
mean, I feel the same way about if you're in regular season and you know you're not going to make playoffs and you're just playing out the season.
Right.
Like that's just tough, and you're not emotionally invested. You're not connected.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Like,
you're right.
But at the same time, you're there to play sport and you're there to represent your school. So I mean, it's all about how you go in to finish that game.
Yep, it's true. And it takes a lot of mental toughness as well to go in realizing, like Evan Matthews, who I became kind of buddy-buddy with through the tournament as the big center for Windsor. He was a guy that played hard all weekend because that was his last games, right? And he was excited about it. So some of the younger guys might not have been, but he played very hard. So a lot of respect for Evan Matthews. Just like I mentioned Gauthier Debout as well. Those are kind of character guys that I really enjoyed watching. All right, that's the consolation side. Championship side, Carleton UVic, 83-74 in the semifinal for Carleton. So University of Victoria Vikes stay much closer to Carleton than Ottawa does. I don't think a lot of people would have predicted that. Maybe that's just our OUA bias coming out. Carleton, after the game, some of the quotes, I didn't pull one, but they were kind of angry that it was even close. They're like, if we play like that, we're just going to lose.
I mean, I guess they hold themselves to a different standard, and they have James
never
Smart looking at them.
I was going to do a story on how they're never satisfied. I told Scott Hasty that. He's just like, That's way too easy. Everyone has told that story for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you're right.
I just want to write a blog that someone will read, man.
But they were kind of upset about it. Marcus Tibbs had 27 points for UVic on 11 of 18 shooting, and he also added 9 assists. Also, Chris McLaughlin, I just talked about the big man for Windsor, Evan Matthews. Chris McLaughlin from UVic, respect. Played all 40 minutes.
Played all 40 minutes against Carleton.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a regular 40 minutes.
And tough as nails in the bronze medal game. They lost the bronze, but he was a guy who battled all weekend, and he had cuts on his legs everywhere. Like every time he would dive for a ball at whatever he is, 6'9", 6'10", I want to say, he would open a new cut, and they would bandage him, and he would go back on, and then he would dive for another ball.
Like he
and
fell into a bush before the game or something.
Exactly. But it was, you could tell it was just a season of nicks and cuts and bumps and bruises, and he was, every time the training staff for UVic was just like, all right, get on over here, Chris, wrap him up, send him back out.
Oh my goodness.
So he was a tough guy, and he was fun to watch as well.
Mummy.
Ottawa Ryerson, the semifinal. Vickers Gill played the hero for Ottawa. Ottawa won 84-75, kind of stunning and a little bit ripping the heart out of the Ryerson Rams home crowd. It was the biggest attendance actually for the entire tournament. I think it was around 4,000 people made it their way into that game. Empty stats for versus Ryerson in the Wilson Cup bronze medal game 6 days earlier for Vickers Gill. He was like 1 of 8, 6 points, I think. He had a couple of free throws. He had 1 rebound. This game, he went off for 21 points, 5 of 7 from downtown. I asked him how after the game he had done that, and this is what he said.
I just stuck with it. I mean, I don't know. Shooters keep shooting even when they don't miss, I guess. I don't know. Our team needed a lift. I felt like I could help us. I took some risky shots at points. They went in, and I just felt it going, so I just kept shooting when I had the shot.
Haters gonna hate, shooters gonna shoot.
Gosh, that's what I was gonna say.
He's like, shooters gonna shoot.
In my head, I was like, shooters gonna shoot.
Yeah, I know. He's as soon as he said that. But yeah, he was pretty dominant. That paved Ottawa's way to the championship game. He was kind of a surprise off the bench, but that was really fun to see. Carleton then in the championship game, 93-46 over Ottawa. And Ottawa had built to this all year. I think that's why it was kind of so devastating for them. Carleton jumped out early, which against a good team, they do it against everybody. And it was amazing to see. First quarter, third quarter, Carleton absolutely dominated in every single game they played. They jumped all over people. Phil Scrubb had 28 points in the final. The stats to give you a bit of an idea of how much of a beatdown this was, and I hate to do this to some of the GG folk that might be listening, but Ottawa 25% shooting, 14 of 56 from the field. Carleton 55% shooting, 36 of 65. Rebounds, Carleton 44, Ottawa 29. Assists, Carleton 22 assists, sharing the ball incredibly well. They average, I think, about 17 assists a game, so 5 above their average. Ottawa only had 9 assists. Points off turnovers, Carleton 26, Ottawa 7. So the defense turning into instant offense for the Ravens as usual with 26. Points in the paint, 34 for Carleton. Ottawa only 16. So you can tell, based on a couple of those, what it was like. I actually have exclusive audio too as well from inside the locker room at halftime of the championship game. Johnny Braheny-Mascal, the senior leader of the Ottawa GGs, we had a microphone in the room when they were down 48-23 at the half, and it sounded something like this.
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've got too far. There's too much to lose. We've got to keep our composure.
Poor Johnny. I feel so bad. 11-2 run at the start of the third by Carleton as well. Then head coach James Darwin was ejected from the game.
Foul. No, 2 foul.
That was a blew me back kind of moment. Everyone in the gym, because he got his first technical pretty early on in the quarter, and then, you saw the referee call it because he was talking to the ref. I don't know what he said, but it doesn't really matter. You saw technical, and everybody was just kind of looked down the bench and was like, oh man, James got a technical. Oh my god, that's his second.
Yeah.
And everybody freaked out, and the whole gym was just stunned. And then there was this awkward 30-second pause while they were shooting the free throws where James was just standing there, and Johnny went over to the
might have to leave now.
Yeah, and Johnny went over to the refs and was like, I've never seen someone plead. It was like he was watching his dad get drafted or something.
Oh my goodness.
And he was like, please, this is my last game. This is my coach. This is the guy who recruited me. Just let him stay. And he was just, and they're like, sorry, deal's a deal. Yeah. And I don't know if it was the same referee that gave both. Some people asked me after, do you think that there was a student writer from Ryerson? He's like, do you think they forgot he had one? I'm like, oh no, they knew. He was just riding them enough that they didn't see any other alternative. Nobody wants to eject a head coach in a championship game.
No, it's embarrassing for everyone.
Yeah, and again, we talk so much about football, the quality of CIS football on TV and the perception of it and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's not ideal to eject the CIS coach of the year and an incredible person in James Drouin.
I mean, it's got to be frustrating for him because looking at Carleton throughout the season, I mean, they're down for so much. their head player is getting super frustrated and saying, keep composure, and clearly not keeping his composure. And Carleton is, like, they're a team.
They're just so
they're a team
frustrating.
of people. They are beatable. They have been beaten by not even Ottawa. So...
Yeah, well, Ottawa got them this year, right? Ottawa got them once this year. So, like, it's amazing, though. Everyone is capable of beating anyone on any day, as we saw with Ottawa Bishops.
I feel like anytime you're on a team or you're watching a team, there are just certain players who know how to finish at the right time. And, like, it's frustrating because you can be like, and they hit the history books this weekend, you know, and sometimes it just takes that team of players who know how to finish at the right time. Who know how to win.
Very true. And one more clip here as well. I think I actually know what James Drouin got teed up for the second time.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
He's near 40, so that could work. And last one for you, I think Coach Drouin could take a lesson from ex-Senators head coach Paul McLean.
The players play, and I'm going to shake it off.
Even like a little Mariah there.
Shake it off, Coach. Shake it off. That's okay. Everything's going to be better. I'm sure it'll take a couple of weeks to get over, but then Ottawa will be back stronger than ever. I think Caleb Agata is going to be a star for them. And also Connor Wood for Carleton. I could see Agata and Wood just going at it for the next couple of years. So
it's funny the players you don't notice because of the legends that are just leaving.
But like the guys that are coming up, Connor Wood, I watched him for about 5 minutes in the Wilson Cup. My first chance to watch him live, and I was like, this guy is amazing.
He's going to be a thing.
Yeah, he's great. Fifth in a row for Carleton, 11-13. They are on the Toronto Sun cover today. Phil Scrubb is tournament MVP. Your all-star team, Adika Peter McNeely from Ryerson, Phil Scrubb, Tom Scrubb, Connor Wood that I just mentioned from Carleton, and Caleb Agata from Ottawa. Phil Scrubb, maybe the best part of this whole experience, he tweeted out last night at like 11:15. There's like thousands of people tweeting at him saying how great he is and all of these exploits and that he's got a chance to go to the NBA and do a summer league and all this stuff. He tweets out, thanks.
I'm just here so don't get fined.
No, all it said was thanks. I was like, that's the most Carleton thing I've ever seen. Victor Razzo, former Marauder and now a two-time, I believe, CIS champion, maybe more. I think he might have been there for the third as well, but, tweeted out last night saying, easily the funnest, most memorable, best years of my life, hashtag see you Ravens. And Thomas Scrubb, again, going with the Scrubb theme here, tweeted out last night, huge win, let's go.
Let's go where?
Let's go where? Your career at Carleton's done. Like, that's such like a Carleton thing, like let's take on the Monstars, let's go! Right? Like, who are we gonna play?
State?
Where's
let's
Kentucky?
Go.
Yeah, we can upset them in the first round, like, by the way, the CIS champion should get a play-in to the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. I think they should be either the play-in game or the 16 seed. They're good enough to be a 10 seed, but I think that's something that we should explore down the road. Maybe in the NCAA tournament next week. That'll be fun. Basketball attendance at the Ryerson Championships. Championship final at 3,917 people there. I think 3/4 of Ottawa was in the building. Best attendance was 4,000, as we said, for the Ottawa Ryerson semifinal. Tournament total 16,874. Congratulations to everybody at Ryerson that put on the tournament. That was a really good showing. It was a lot of fun to see that many people in the gym celebrating Canadian basketball. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, I've gone on a long little trip here with basketball. Women, I'm sorry, I'm going to jam this in. I didn't want to rush this at all, but Windsor wins their 5th consecutive title with a victory over the McGill Martlets, 60-47 at Pepsi Gymnasium, only the second program to ever win 5 straight championships in CIS women's basketball. After a dominant performance throughout the weekend, including an average of 23.6 points, 12 rebounds, and 6.3 assists, and 6 steals, Carissa Williams was named the CIS tournament MVP for the second time in her illustrious career.
She was an absolute beauty and a solid rock during the performance. I mean, there were a couple of key players, but when Windsor was starting to kind of lose a little steam that it seemed from the crowd's point of view, like that wasn't even a thing. They got down to having a 5-point difference, but the steadiness of Windsor's play and their confidence and the way that they played throughout the whole game, they just were never going to give up. And if McGill was waiting for that, it just was never going to happen.
And the quality of basketball out there was amazing as well. Chris Young from UBC dropped, I think, 40 points in back-to-back games. Her team got upset even though she scored 40 in the semis. So it was good quality basketball across the country. Check it out if you can on Sportsnet. They've got some videos up. I would have loved to have seen more of it, but I was in Toronto covering the men. So I'm just telling you that's why I couldn't cover it as much. Women's basketball raising money for breast cancer as well. Something they announced when they were at the tournament. They've raised $102,312 for the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation in 2014-15, thanks to the 8th edition of the annual Shoot for the Cure initiative, which I know we experienced here at McMaster. The impressive amount was unveiled at halftime of the championship final of the ArcelorMittal Dofasco CIS Final 8 at Laval University. Also, the whole sponsorship thing, there was a good article in either the Globe and Mail or the National Post about if a car company was sponsoring basketball championships, they could roll up their cars. What is ArcelorMittal Dofasco going to put out? Like steel pipes? It was kind of, there was a good article on it. Anyways, I thought it was interesting. An additional $23,000 was amassed by schools that elected to donate their fundraised money to local or provincial organizations, bringing the season's Shoot for the Cure overall total to $125,000 and the 8-year total to $886,000 since the initiative was launched in 2007-2008 to raise awareness and money to fight the deadly disease. So big ups to everybody who has been involved in that over the last 8 years, getting close to that $1 million range. And I think that that's their goal next year, is to break through and go past $1 million. In the theme of basketball, we know you need a couple of days off if you were covering basketball like I was. However, OUA Today bracket, we have it up. The group is on cbssportsline.com. It's OUA Today. Password is Wilson Cup, all lowercase, all one word. We will send out the link to that. And if you would like us to put you in, maybe just send us a tweet with your email or something, and we can drop that in and send you a direct invite, because we are very willing to do that. I know Amanda and I will be playing. I don't know how many other people will get, but if you're a hardcore OUA fan, or if you're listening to this because you wanted to hear about the OUA basketball championships.
And you're going to miss basketball?
I know, yeah. You and everyone and your dog and your dog's friend and your dog's friend's cat all have a bracket going in the NCAA tournament. That's the way it is now. But if you want to be a part of ours, you're more than welcome to. I wanted to open that up for anybody. Take the break. When we come back, we're going to rush through the rest of the show. This is CFMU 93.3.
AMJ Campbell, official mover of the Yates Cup.
Oh.
That's a Dublin beat.
Yeah, you would know because you've been there.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, this is not the Celtic show on CFMU, although Sunday is international shows on CFMU. If you're ever interested, please tune in on Sunday afternoons. From around the world, there's all sorts of different international shows. But for right now, we wanted to give you the top 10 Irish names in OUA athletics. We went through some of the rosters last night. We compiled our favorites.
We took a lot of time doing this too, so please appreciate it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like we take like an hour to do, and then we're gonna fit into 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of radio. So, alright, Laura, we can just alternate here. Laurier men's baseball, number 25, shortstop, Callum Murphy, 5'10", 175, second year economics, Mississauga, Ontario.
Lakehead women's basketball, number 22, forward, Bridget O'Reilly, first year commerce, Seaforth, Ontario.
Seaforth, that's...
Seaforth.
Where is that?
I don't know.
That sounds kind of Irish too. Angus Carroll, fly half, 5'11", third year accounting at Queen's Rugby.
Joe Furland, defense, football, Ottawa, 6'3", first year civil engineering.
Laurier women's basketball, number 11 guard, Lauren Jameson, 5'10", first year communications, Oakville, Ontario.
I love this one.
What is this? Is this an Irish name?
Yeah, like you want a curling or a
nice.
Guinness? You'd always be curling.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. Curling Town. Forward hockey. Not like super Irish, but I just chose it because it said curling.
No, I know. It's like, you go through the names and you're like, Bridget O'Reilly, Angus Carroll, Joel Fairland, Carling Chow.
5'10", social science, Ottawa. Forward hockey, you go girl.
Eric McPherson, cross country Queens, first year eligibility, political science in his fourth year.
Tyler McLaren, slot back, football, Ottawa, 6'2", human kinetics.
Aaron O'Higgins, cross country Queen. I feel like the Irish accent is you just go up at the end.
O'Higgins.
Marshall Ferguson. Amanda Weldon.
I should have put your name in there.
No, I'm Scottish. Scottish to the bone.
My bad.
Yeah, that's okay.
We could be seriously offending some people
right
now.
If you have any hate mail, please send it to @OUA Today on Twitter. We'd like to hear from you. Aaron O'Higgins, cross country Queens, first year civil engineering.
And Scott McGuire, men's rugby, Toronto, 5'9", mechanical engineering.
Oh, did you hear that scream from the girl in the background of this music?
It threw me off a little bit.
Do people get hyped at Celtic music
Very
festivals?
Hyped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All the Guinness flowing. Western Mustangs football, number 95, defensive lineman Rory Conop, 6'5", 282, fourth year King's College from Edmonton, Alberta. And he actually leads me into our CFL Combine OUA athletes because Rory Conop is invited to the CFL evaluation camp, along with Chris Aki, who's rated number 12 on the big board, a defensive back from Wilfrid Laurier, Brendan Morgan, defensive back from Queens, Dylan Campbell from Wilfrid Laurier. Rory is in there. Ettore Latenzio, who is just my favorite human on the whole planet, despite the fact how much he hit me in the last couple of years. He's a great dude. So, I'm cheering for him. And if somebody doesn't draft him in the top 5 after he absolutely destroys people in one-on-ones at the E-Camp, he'll get the first overall pick to be on this show. And he can come on and talk about how angry he is. Ricky Osikusi, defensive lineman from Western. Ese Marabu Ajofo. I never knew how to say that guy's name. I didn't have to deal with him much. Not gonna lie, he didn't get to me much. He was a defensive lineman for Laurier. And Daryl Watt, who went down to the East-West Shrine Bowl and is a great player as well. And an even funnier dude. But there's 3 defensive linemen just from Western, just this year, who got invited to the E-Camp. So, Western defensive line, big ups. Good job to those guys. All right, let's just move on right now to Twitter wars, I guess. Actually, do you want to read all of our names just one last time? Let's just fire them out together. You can just go through them. You have a better Irish accent than I do, so you can fire it up.
Okay, wait. Okay. We've got Angus Carroll, Bridget O'Reilly, Joe Furland, Lauren Jameson, Carling Jam, Eric McPherson, Tyler McLaren, Aaron O'Higgins, and Scott McGuire, and Roy Kenlop.
That was awesome.
And my Galloway girl is Aaron O'Higgins.
This Celtic music MP3 is 14 minutes long.
I mean, we could just leave it playing and
it sounds like the same thing played in 30-second sections.
As soon as I went to Dublin with my dad, he came home being like, I'm going to get a banjo.
Oh, nice.
I really want to learn.
Cool. Banjos are awesome. Speaking of you being in Dublin, you did one of the coolest things I've ever experienced when you were over there, because that was when we were doing the Marauder Report, which was canceled by local TV providers. Just joking. We just stopped doing it because we were really busy. You went over there and got random people to say my name doing cool things.
I did. So, and people performing songs and interrupting the entire restaurant for them just to say Marshall Ferguson.
Yes.
Marshall Ferguson.
Here's the 2 clips that I snapped up that you got when you were over in Dublin, which was one of the coolest things I've ever heard. First is a guy saying that he's pouring a pint for me in the video, and he says this.
A pint of Marshall Ferguson. Sláinte.
Sláinte, that's what they say.
What does that mean?
It's like cheers, sláinte.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And this is the other one, guys that are performing on a stage that dedicate their song to a certain someone.
Alright, this next song is going to be dedicated to our friend Marshall Ferguson, all the way back there.
You should just copy how they say your name, Marshall Ferguson. That guy had a man bun and he was
hot.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I nailed it. I thought I was being sarcastic.
No,
good for him. There was a lot of man buns at CIS men's basketball.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's like a new thing.
It's a very Ottawa,
side
Montreal
shave, head man bun,
sideburn. Yeah, there was also for Dalhousie. They had a man bun face mask combo. Which
you know what? We might do a man bun contest.
Hansel, so
soon.
hot. Yeah, we could do a man bun
on
contest.
Our blog.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so that is it for St. Patty's. I hope you all have a safe and fun St. Patrick's Day. Look forward to hearing some fun stories from around the OUA, perhaps take some pictures, athletes out enjoying themselves responsibly. Enjoying themselves right now, though. It is time for a segment that we haven't done in a couple of weeks. It's time for Twitter Wars.
Twitter Wars!
Twitter Wars! Twitter Wars this week features Jim Watson, at Jim Watson Ottawa on Twitter. He's the mayor of Ottawa. He's a Carleton graduate. He tweeted out saying, good luck to the UWA Ottawa GGs and the Carleton Ravens in today's
CIA?
CIA? No, it's the CIS championships. Thanks. He might have thought it was the CIAU or whatever it used to be, but it's the CIS championships, Jim. That's okay. Who do you think will win and by how many points? I say Ravens by 12. You're the mayor of the city. You have people from both sides. I get that you're a Carleton grad, but
the way he started that tweet was so right. The way he ended it was so wrong.
Politically correct. There's a reason they call it politically correct when you're a politician, not being I choose the Ravens.
On Twitter, you only have so many characters to screw up.
And the fact that the mayor of a Canadian city is dropping a point spread line.
A little bet.
I would have loved if he was like, I say Ravens by 12.5. Then it was like the over-under he actually laid down. And then middle of the game, he tweets, go at CU Ravens. Go. Hashtag Ott City. The optics on that of a guy who, despite where you graduated, you're the mayor of the city. It's cool to have an opinion, but maybe chill.
Maybe just cheer
maybe
for
just
Ottawa
say,
as a whole.
So proud of this. How many people are down there? Send us your tweets if you really are like a big part of the championship, or if you're a student who's down there, right? Like do something fun like that. Don't go, suck it, Ottawa. That's basically what he did on Twitter.
Maybe say so good to have all this energy in
here.
here.
Yeah, there's different ways to attach it.
We're going to send an angry email after this.
The CIS Super Championship weekend, we can include it now. We're going to fly through this, which is not what I wanted, but Actually, you know what? Let's save it. Let's save it. The OUA season's rounding down. People are going to start exams and stuff. We're going to need stuff to talk about.
We want you to listen next Monday.
Yeah, and we also want you to go back and watch some of the coverage that Sportsnet had. Maybe we'll give you an extra day or two to look at everything that happened over this past weekend, because it was a bit of a rush. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you can make some assumptions on how it went. And more importantly, here's the thing. People sent me a lot of tweets last night saying, this is great. Mm-hmm. What I meant when I sent out the tweet saying we'd love your thoughts wasn't necessarily the quality of coverage or the fact that we're covering it. Is, does anyone realize this is all put in one weekend and then it's like 0 dark 30 for the next 51 weeks?
I mean, we got curling next weekend though.
Is it on the CIS Sportsnet? No. Right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's still stuff going on, but in terms of national media coverage, it's like, I loved it. I love the format. Yeah, exactly. But we'll get into that next week. We can have a nice long debate. And also Scott Hasty should be back next week. So he's a guy who I know had some opinions on it, and he's very educated in the realm. All right. Last couple of things for you here. This one is, I went to the CIS Speakers Forum, which they had at Ryerson University on Monday, I guess it was. I went down to Ryerson, sat in the gym. It was my first experience with Mattamy Athletic Center, which by the way, is an incredible facility. Yeah. I'd never been down there. I never went to a Leafs game when it was still Maple Leaf Garden, but this is Masai Ujiri, general manager of the Toronto Raptors, talking about the possibility of maybe adding someone to his roster.
Does that matter at all? As a GM, as you're sitting there and saying, well, geez, he's a great kid, he's Canadian, but this kid's a little bit better?
There will be, there's no doubt in my mind, and I know it's during my time, and even if my time is short, there will be a Canada basketball player playing for the Toronto Raptors, 100%.
Yes, Masai. Yes. I was so pumped up by that. And he kept saying it all night. He's just like, we wanted Tyler Ennis last year. We want Andrew Wiggins. We want this. And he was just like naming off, but he was like, we're going to make sure it's the right fit, so it's not just for posterity's sake.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really cool. I think he's going to make it happen sooner than later. The amount of talent that's coming out of Canada right now, who knows? Phil Scrubb ends up in a camp there, right? Maybe he goes to Vegas for summer league with it. Yeah. Big summer for Canadian basketball as well. That was a huge part of that whole event, was talking about Pan Am games being in Toronto at Ryerson in the same gym that the Scrub and these guys just played in, as well as Olympic qualifiers going on about 2 weeks after.
I think for a guy like Phil, he has so much talent. If he was also surrounded by some of the guys in the States where they could match him and challenge him, I think we could see some amazing, great things.
We actually got a really cool story out of Dave Smart, which is kind of a rare thing, because he's kind of a coach speaky guy, but he said the first time he ever met the Scrubs was when he was coaching Team Canada. They were down in Vegas and they were playing against Team USA, and it was LeBron and Kyrie Irving and all these guys. And so they're down there coaching against them. And they brought the Scrubs down from Vancouver. The Scrubs' dad flew them down just to kind of go view and see all this stuff. And Smart's like, they were awful players. Like that was the first time I met them, and I honestly just like shook their hand and was like, yeah, like whatever, kid. Like you guys are probably really nice kids, but I got stuff to do. I'm with Team Canada.
See you later, Scrub.
Yeah. So, also the Ottawa student section singing "I Don't Want No Scrub" yesterday. It was pretty good. It was unfortunate that it came when you were already down 40.
Yeah.
But I like that. So, okay, let's do the big finish and then let's get out of here, shall we? The big finish this week is brought to you by Amanda's Twitter account, @WeldonAmanda.
Sweet.
I wanted to throw it out there. Queen's University, @QueensU. The Gales did a 24-hour ergathon. You ever heard of an ergathon?
What is an ergathon?
It was underway at University and Union last week. You can donate to their cause. I'm not sure what the cause is, but you can donate to it. It's when they have the rowing machines and they pulled them out in the middle of the street and went from there. The Ontario University Lifeguard Championships, the official life-saving sport club of the University of Waterloo. Congrats to Andrew Lofts for collecting bronze in the 100-meter obstacle. That's pretty cool. Didn't know that was a thing. OUA teams took home 11 of a possible 18 CIS medals this weekend, including gold medals in 5 of 6 sports. Nipissing Lakers got themselves a libero and Briere Keke adding to the roster for 15-16. Shout out to the Windsor Lancers men's basketball team for wearing team sweaters. Roy Rana and everybody who put together the Final 8 event was fantastic as well. McMaster women beat UVic to capture their second consecutive National Sevens title. Shout out to Admiral Snoopy for subscribing on YouTube and Mr. Blonde for commenting on everything as well. And the final thing I had, CTV report from last Wednesday in Waterloo. Students and police are both gearing up for March 17.
Students and police.
How about everybody just chills and enjoys a drink together instead of trying to shred your campus or town apart? Let's do that.
I would love them to just go to Ireland and just see what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah, like the genuine good nature and
like,
fun
let's
everyone
hug
is.
and take photos together.
Yeah. Not throw stop signs through windows.
Oh,
let's
yeah.
not do that. So everybody in the K-Dub, relax. Okay?
Yeah.
Have a good time.
The 905.
Thank you everybody for listening. We're going to start doing Twitter shoutouts for anyone that interacts with us in a reasonable way soon, where I'm just going to take 20 seconds. I'm going to read every Twitter account that had an interaction with us over the weekend. So hopefully that will up some of our chats with y'all, and we look forward to having those conversations. How to reach the show, at OUA Today on Twitter, at Marsh2Fergs, at Weldon Amanda. We are back next Monday. We will leave you right now with the OUA Plays of the Week on the video podcast side, which I apologize for not having ready last week. I was kind of busy. I was in Toronto 5 of the last 6 days.
Aston looks toward the front and elects to send it down low, centering pass across slot. Chip, big arm save from D'Agostini. Knocked back to the line, kept in by Baudry. Get another hard shot on another glove save by D'Agostini. And that's the story of the 104th Queen's Cup, Andrew D'Agostini.
Luciani jumps on the rush, gives it off to Green, tees up, shot by scores! Au revoir, McGill! It's the Windsor Lancers going to Halifax!
Double trouble for Ryan Green. He gets 2, and he gets the Windsor Lancers to Nova Scotia.